Hi everyone, and welcome to another interview with Coach Gosek. I am Nick from the Pal Times with Coach Gosek, of course, and welcome to, I guess, one of our most bittersweet interviews. This is the season finale interview, so not sure when we'll be back in here doing this, but Coach, we'll get right into it. We haven't talked in a few weeks or so. The season ended in a loss to Adrian. Just looking back now, last I saw you, you were on the podium there, and Adrian, Bobby and Nick next to you, you guys seemed a little visibly upset, of course, but now that you let it sink in, how are you guys feeling?
Well, as time goes on, it's not dwelling on the loss as much as the friendships with the players that you've developed, some over 4 years, some over 3 years, 2 years. They're a great group of guys, and so you, as in every year, all things come to an end. And with our standards here set that we believe are obtainable, when they doesn't end the way that you want, you put your heart and soul into something, the players, the staff, obviously it's disappointing, but you address your shortcomings, exit interviews with the players, meeting with the seniors that graduate, and try to improve ourselves as a staff, as a program, individually with the players. So we leave no subject unaddressed, so that we, with no guarantees obviously, but do our best to prepare and recruit and bring in the right kids to complement what we have returning. So that's where we're at this time of year. We go through each player with an exit interview, and we gather a lot of information that helps us move forward.
Great. And Coach, if you could go back through the season, are there any maybe particular games, looking back on the 2014-2015 season, that'll stand out to you? Maybe a win, maybe even a loss, a big game, of course, we just talked about Adrian. Any specific games that you think, looking back, are going to stand out?
Well, I think our 50th anniversary weekend was a positive in many ways. We had a lot of guys, former players, come back that have not been back in a long, long time. Some of them, it was the first time that they've seen the campus center or been in here live. So that was enjoyable to see many of those people, and it was a great weekend. And obviously we were successful on the ice, which is bittersweet, against my former boss and good friend George Roll.
Mm-hmm.
So if any of the games could have ended in a tie, I guess I wish it would have been that one. We want to win every game, but I think that was a great weekend for many different reasons. The experience in the Carrier Dome was fun. Wins-wise, games that we thought were important wins. I thought the win in Plattsburgh first semester was probably one of our most complete games of the season. So I think we learned a lot about ourselves that weekend with Plattsburgh and Potsdam before we headed into the Christmas break. Obviously winning the Pathfinder tournament, and then probably one of the most important games, which it was an important failure. I know that sounds, people would say, what's he talking about? But without the loss to Plattsburgh in the league championship, I'm not sure, it's not anything to do with the NCAA tournament or getting into the tournament and having a little bit of success there, as much as what it told us about our returning players for next year and the character part of it. So as I said in the post-game interview, and Adrian many times, you certainly can't get to that stage in the season without having the talent, but talent alone doesn't guarantee NCAA tournaments or success or national championships or league championships. You have to have that talent with the right character and the heart and the soul, and guys that really are committed to doing it for the right reasons. And I think the loss up in Plattsburgh was an important failure in that we readdressed how we were doing things at that point in the season, how we were going to deal with some of the players moving forward. And it wasn't going to be just about the next couple of weeks. We were going to learn enough about many of them to know whether or not we were going to have what it was going to take for the future. And fortunately, I think many of those questions were answered by the way in which we competed, probably more importantly in practice than what the average fan saw in Hobart or saw in Adrian. So, and that was a positive from a coaching standpoint.
And Coach, moving towards next year now, you mentioned there you got a couple guys that's showed up well after that Plattsburgh game. I'm not sure if you can talk about any new recruits right now. It's pretty early after the season ended already. But if you just want to even just talk about your own team, the guys that you for sure are going to come back. McCurley, he had a great season, young guy. Sean Holshaw obviously emerged this year. What do you see from this team next year and the squad you have in the next year or two to come?
You know, well, the first thing is you address, do we have enough talent to win a national championship? You know, and I know it sounds, as I said to you many times, Nick, you know, I guess some people would look at it like, my God, is that guy, you know, why is he always, I don't want to say high standards, but do we have enough talent to win a national championship? Do we have the right people to win a national championship? Do we have the right character? Are we doing the right things? Do we have enough size, enough goal scorers, enough playmakers, enough energy guys, stay-at-home D, offensive D, goaltending? You know, every issue that leads to that, you have to ask yourself. And if you don't, then how ruthless do you want to be as a coach to try to achieve that? Ruthless, I guess, is a strong word, but accountability, hard work, not just by the players, but by the staff, until we exhaust every avenue of getting the most we can get out of every player. You know, our job is never done. And so the first people we hold accountable the way that the season ended is ourselves. And then the second part is, you know, how do you get guys maybe that weren't totally in to buy in 100%? And I think for the most part, the majority did. You know, so I think that's very important. The players returning, I think some of them have just scratched the surface of how good they can be. I think others may have plateaued out, and if that plateau is at a high enough level, both in ability and in character, you can get a lot of mileage out of that. Those that have underachieved, underperformed, don't have what it takes, then those are the players that we have to ask them, why are they here and what does our program mean to be part of? So I know those are all big philosophical things, but the reality is at the end of the year, when you have two teams that are pretty equal in talent, they're both well coached, they both have good players, the team that usually has consistent character traits throughout the season is a team that's going to be successful. That is not why we lost to Adrian. But moving forward, to answer your question, the key guys returning, we need our key guys to be key guys day in and day out to sustain. You know, as we say to them, you have the ability, you have the sustainability to grind it out day after day in practice to push yourself to be the best that you could be. What does it really mean to you? Right? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to do those extra things in the summertime to really make a difference in your performance on the ice? If you get enough of those guys to do that, we're very optimistic and excited about next year. If you don't get a lot of guys to do that, as you've heard many people say, nobody stays the same. You get worse or you get better, we believe that. So what are you doing to make yourself better? We want players that are committed. I think because of that loss in Plattsburgh, we learned a lot about a lot of guys where maybe we were questioning, right? Or we weren't totally convinced that they were on board in all aspects of the program. And I think over the last 2-3 weeks, we were pleasantly, those questions were answered in a positive way. So we were pleased with how that turned out. Going forward with the recruits, we'll bring in, it's not a numbers game for us this year with the number as much as the qualities. So we have to make sure that they're not only a good player, but they have those qualities that we're looking for. And then, where do they fit in? What is their role? What are we identifying to them? And as we say, as much as we want certain players here, we want them to want to be here. And then you can work through a lot of adversity and a lot of issues that arise.
Wonderful. Well, Coach, I'm going to throw you and everybody a curveball right now. I'm actually going to do sort of a little bit of a sign-off and thank you and whatnot. I want to start with you, Coach. Thank you very much for doing these. I really appreciate it. I wanted to also thank, he's not here right now, not a ton of times he's here, but Coach Digby is usually the silent hero sitting right over here listening to me fire you a few questions. And wanted to thank everyone out there who checks out these videos every week. It means a lot to me. Coach tells me all the time that he always has someone come up to him and ask him a question about it, make a comment about it, and everyone really seems to like it. So thank you, everybody, alumni, fans, everyone who checks it out, and we will see you in 2015-2016.